We will be discussing about the menstrual cycle. A very, very important topic, menstrual cycle. Just beginning the discussion, what happens is we can see that in some mammals, females are continuously receptive to males, okay, but they do not ovulate unless some stimuli associated with, you can say, copulation, or you can say other male sexual behaviors are present. Okay, this phenomenon is known as induced ovulation. Means until and unless there is some kind of sexual induction from the male side, they will not ovulate. But that does not happen in, you can say, human beings. In human beings, it is spontaneous ovulation. It is not dependent on male behavior or copulation. So these kinds of things are also seen. Okay. Next. So these are some of the observations that I'm saying, because it's not always like that, because ovulation can happen only and only after, you can say, sexual induction by males in many mammals as well. That is why I told that point. Okay, but in humans, it just happens every month, whether we go for sex or not. Okay, that is the main difference between humans and other mammals. Now, human females are spontaneous ovulators, means ovulation happens periodically whether sex happens or not, copulation happens or not. Now, you can say that there is something known as estrus cycle also. Okay, means you have a specific season or specific, you can say, estrus means specific stimuli by light. Okay, so you can say if you put rats, take rats for example, with a 4 to 5 day estrus cycle, if they're kept on a 12-hour light and 12-hour dark daily cycle, okay, with lights turned on at 6 a.m., the rats would ovulate at 2 a.m. on the morning, okay, of the estrus cycle. So these things have been already seen in laboratory. Now, my main question is, why do women menstruate? Because in many mammals like dogs and all, they do not bleed mostly. Okay, the question is, why do women bleed, or why do women menstruate? Okay, menstruation. In case of menstrual cycle, first of all, they have 4 phases. Okay, number one is the menstrual phase itself. Okay, that is day 1 to day 4 or day 5, you can say. Then we have follicular phase. We again start building up those blood vessels on the endometrial layer. Okay, follicular phase. Also, this is known as, you can say, the proliferative phase. It keeps on growing and growing. So, in day 5 to day 13, then we have the ovulatory phase. The ovulation will happen 1 day phase, shortest phase. It is the day 14. Then the fourth one is the luteal phase. Longest phase. Okay. You can say day 14 to day 28. This is the menstrual cycle. So how do we start menstrual cycle? By the first bleeding, the day the woman bleeds, that is the indication, because otherwise we have to go for ultrasonography, ultrasound, that what is happening in the body. We don't know. So bleeding is the first major visual indication that something is happening. Okay. So technically, understand this point. Technically, the menstrual cycle should begin from where? Begin from follicular phase, because this is the initiation of new blood vessel growth. on the endometrial lining of the uterus. Getting? But we cannot see that. It is very hard to visualize. You have to go to the labs, pathology testing and all. So doctors around the world have taken this one as the initiation, because the day you bleed, you start counting the days. Okay, suppose you bled on today, you start counting from this day only. This is the first menstrual cycle. You will bleed for 4 days, 5 days, 6 days, depending on your menstrual level. You start counting till 28th day, your cycle will be done. Okay, so this is the rule of menstrual cycle. So my question is, why women menstruate? So menstruation is what? Menstruation is the shedding and bleeding of the uterine endometrium. Okay. Between successive ovulations and loss of this material through the vagina. Okay. One more thing I'll tell you. The endometrial lining of the uterus has got two linings. Line number one and, or you can say layer number two. This is known as stratum basalis, the lower layer. The topmost layer is called stratum functionalis. During menstruation or bleeding, this layer is shed. Okay, this layer stays. It is not shed. Okay, this layer is produced in follicular phase. Okay, and luteal, after luteal you will reach menstrual again and you will shed this same layer, but this layer will stay intact. Stratum bacillus. Always know this fact for NEET examination. Okay, stratum functionalis is the layer which is produced or synthesized in the or during the follicular phase, and it is shed if though no fertilization happens, no sexual interaction happens, then it will be shed in the menstrual phase. Okay, so the shedding of stratum functionalis layer of the endometrium. Endometrium has got two layers. Okay, the innermost layer of the uterus. So of the endometrium, which comes out through the vagina, is known as the menstruation. Now, most of the mammals, they do not menstruate using the above definition. So what happened? Did the menstruation evolve with a specific function in humans? Or is it simply a byproduct of some other important process? Okay. Now we know that some aspects of menstruation are clearly disadvantageous to women. You can see iron loss, right? Fe2 plus hemoglobin, nutrient loss happens with the blood flow. If women are menstruating too much dysmenorrhea due to hormonal changes, they need to supplement with iron, then folic acid, B vitamins, A and all. Okay, B12. Then again, pain is there, menstrual cramp, discomfort is there. Okay, it could be disabling. You cannot play, you cannot jump, right, during the menstruation. Okay, so what is the thing? What has happened? Okay, why do we menstruate when this is a little bit, you can say, problematic as well? Can anyone say? What could be the postulate? Understood the question? There are various negative points of for or against menstruation that I told: iron loss, nutrient loss, B12 loss, blood loss, right? Then pain, discomfort, menstrual cramp. Still, it happens. In dogs, it doesn't happen. They are also mammals. But why does it happen in human beings? Raj, any postulate? You can try some answers, some reason. Prakriti, any reason coming in your head? Anshika, any postulate you can say. Don't have to be really correct, but any reason of your own. Any specific reason. right? So what happens is, for the menstrual flow to have evolved and being maintained in humans, there are few scientists, right, who argue that a clear adaptive advantage must be able to overpower or take down this disadvantage. There should be the presence of some advantages. Okay, so there are some hypotheses. Listen to them. Nothing is completely true, but there are few hypotheses that I believe in. Okay, so menstruation evolved. Why? Number one, because it removes sexually transmitted microorganisms that can cause infertility and disease. Hypothesis number one. Okay. Why do we menstruate? It eliminates sexually transmitted microorganisms. Microorganisms, meaning that menstruation would flush out or throw out bacteria, viruses that are carried into the female. It would interact by, you can say, semen and all. Okay, but again, this theory has a little bit of problem. Okay, I'll tell you the theory. I'll tell you the problem also. Like, most mammals do not menstruate, but are still faced with STD. Okay, dogs also have STD. How is that true? Okay. Also, blood is an excellent medium for STD organisms. Okay. So, and some sexually transmitted diseases are acquired more often just after menstruation. Okay, because you are in direct contact with the bathroom and all, so it can be acquired, okay, easily. And women menstruate very infrequently. Okay, and it's not that you are menstruating daily that STD will be thrown out. That is the counterpoint for that. There is no point that is completely true. Second point is, this point is a little bit true. Menstruation saves the energy that would be required to maintain a constantly, you can say, secreting endometrium. Okay, it maintains energy required for, or energy, it saves the energy, you can say, required to maintain. It saves the energy, it saves energy required to maintain. Okay. You can say a, a consistently or constantly, a constantly secreting endometrium. That could be one of the hypotheses again. Okay, because the menstruum, during the cycle, menstruation cycle, the endometrium thickens and increases in mass, and then it will be regress and thrown out. Okay, so the fully grown endometrium uses about 7 times as much oxygen than the regressed state. Okay, and the maintenance of that would continue to require this much additional energy. Okay, but the thing is, the amount of energy it would take to maintain a secretory endometrium would again be much less than what it takes to regrow the endometrium from the scratch. Okay, so it is also not a proper reason. Okay, next is menstruum, or you can say menstruation is necessary to allow sperm transport. Okay, with a thickened secretory endometrium nearly fills the uterine lumen. Okay, so very little uterine fluid is present at this time. So it is difficult for the sperm to move through the uterine lumen. Okay, so this could be one of the good reasons that menstruation is necessary to allow sperm transport. Otherwise, it would be block. It would be blocking it. So menstruation required to allow sperm transport. Okay, so these are few postulates. Okay, and also in humans, it's a signal that tells that a woman is not pregnant. Okay, it's a signal for non-pregnancy. So these could be the postulates why humans have been able to go for or start this menstrual cycle. Okay, that could be the case. Now, the menstrual cycle in detail, if you talk about, what we have is, I told you we have the menstrual phase, okay, we have the proliferative phase, okay, then we have the luteal phase, ovulatory phase, the luteal phase, so all those phases are there, okay. So the thing is, stratum functionalis, which I told you, it only grows, okay, and it only dies, okay. So why does it die? Can anyone tell me why does it die? After it grows, why does it die? After it dies, it will come out, okay. So it dies by blood clotting, known as ischemia, okay. Because the blood vessels that supply it with nutrients and oxygen, they begin to constrict and again dilate with a spasmodic contraction. Okay, that leads to ischemic death. Okay, because cholesterol levels have gone down. So most women they lose 10 to 80 ml of blood. Okay, average is 30 ml of blood. Okay, so most women, you can say, write it down. Most women they lost around, you can say, 10 to 80 ml blood, with the average being 30 ml blood. Okay. Now the thing is, if there is a loss of more than 80 ml, that is known as heavy menstrual bleeding. That is a disease. If you are losing more than 80 ml blood, that is known as heavy menstrual bleeding or menorrhagia. Okay, heavy menstrual flow. Okay, these diseases you should be knowing for NEET examination. Heavy menstrual flow, menorrhagia. Okay. Now, when a woman suspects that more than 80 ml of menstrual fluid is lost, okay, what shall she do? She should supplement her diet, right? Again, with, you can say, iron, because it's an important component of RBC, hemoglobin Fe2 plus state, right? B12, B vitamins, okay, those things they should be taking, okay. And menstrual discharge not only contains blood, but we know that it also contains the uterine fluid. along with the debris of the tissue that is coming out, blood vessels, okay, cervical mucus, vaginal secretions, okay. So the debris from the endometrium is very, very thick and is often also mistaken for blood clot because it is nothing but the blood vessels which are being destroyed. So they are not blood really, okay. So that is there. Now what happens is we can start with the menstrual phase itself because this is the menstrual phase. So what has happened? The corpus luteum of the previous cycle has regressed, okay, by day one, and progesterone level, estrogen level have gone down. Progesterone level going down causes the stratum functionalis of the uterine or the uterine endometrium to degenerate. Okay, so that is what happens. So before I describe more of the menstrual phase, let's start with the follicular phase so that it will make more sense. Okay, so the follicular phase, day 5 to day 13, is so named because it is characterized by the rapid growth of ovarian follicles. Okay, primary becomes secondary, tertiary, Graafian, ovulation, those things will happen. Ovulation will happen in a different phase, but it will go, one of the follicles will go till Graafian stage. Okay. So I told you that diplotin arrest will be broken, the primordial follicle will become primary follicle and all those things. So those things are there. Okay. Now, what happens is we know that under the influence of FSH, okay, the diplotin arrest is broken, LH1 is broken. How is it broken? The diplotin arrest, okay, how is it broken? I'll just tell you the mechanism or the, you can say, overcoming of the diplotin arrest. Overcoming of diplotin arrest during follicular phase. So what happens is we have this primary oocyte, right? We have this primary oocyte. Then we have something known as zona pellucida. Then on top of that, we have suppose this is the follicular granulosa cells, secondary follicle. This is, then on top of that, what will be there? Membrana granulosa, basement membrane. I told you. Okay, this one is the zona pellucida. This one is the membrana granulosa. On top of that, you will be having theca interna. If you remember, okay, making the Graafian follicle. Still, it is not Graafian. It is tertiary now. Graafian will have the cavity or the antrum liquor folliculi. This is the theca externa. This one is the, change the color. This one is the theca externa. Okay, these two layers, theca interna and theca externa, are the connective tissue, right? Coming from the stroma of the ovary. This is theca interna. This is theca externa. Now, what happens is this theca interna contains LH receptor, which will bind to luteinizing hormone. And these one, follicular cells, they contain FSH receptor, which can bind to FSH. Okay, now what happens? When FSH binds to FSH receptor, it will cause signaling and it will induce the gene to make an enzyme, which is a protein in the follicular cells known as aromatase. When LH binds to LH receptor on theca interna, it will stimulate the genes which will convert cholesterol to androstenedione, which is a type of testosterone. So this will cause production of androstenedione. Okay, it's a type of nothing but a type of testosterone. I told you testosterone are four types. Testosterone, then 5-alpha dihydroxy testosterone, 5-alpha DHT, androstenedione, and dehydroepiandrosterone, that is DHEA. Okay, so 5-DHT and testosterone are strong androgens, and androstenedione and DHEA are weak androgens. So what happens is, upon LH stimulation, theca interna produces androstenedione. This is lipid soluble. This is lipid soluble. It can pass through this cell and can enter this cell as well. Plasma membrane, lipid soluble. Upon entering follicular cells, it will encounter what? This enzyme aromatase. So there is this reaction. Androstenedione, upon interacting with the enzyme aromatase in the follicular cells, gives rise to 17-beta estradiol. It is nothing but estrogen. Now, this is the estrogen produced in the follicular cells of females. This estrogen will go to the entire body, cause secondary female development, secondary female sexual characteristics, breast development, okay, and then less hair on the body. This is less responsible for all that, and this will act on the same cell, autocrine and paracrine, and on nearby cells, which will cause the genes to induce the expression of LH receptor. Now, LH receptor, which were not present on the follicular cells, will be present now on the follicular cells. Now it can interact directly with LH. When LH interacts with LH receptor on follicular cells, I told you, there are gap junctions which connect follicular cells with primary oocyte. They will be completely closed. If they are closed, cyclic GMP cannot come from follicular cells to primary oocyte, right? If cyclic GMP is blocked because gap junction is closed, connexin protein is gone. Cyclic GMP now cannot come. Now, what did I tell you? Cyclic GMP inhibits what? Inhibits the enzyme phosphodiesterase 3A, which converts cyclic AMP to AMP. Now, if cyclic GMP cannot come into the primary oocyte, then PDE3A, phosphodiesterase 3A, will not be inhibited. PDE3A, no inhibition. Now, no inhibition means what? Now, PDE3A will convert all the cyclic AMP to AMP. Now, cyclic AMP was doing what? Cyclic AMP was inhibiting maturation promoting factor, which was responsible for driving meiosis. So it was inhibiting MPF. So meiosis was arrested. Now cyclic AMP is absent. It is converted into simple adenosine monophosphate. So MPF now will not be inhibited. No inhibition. This will lead to no diplotin arrest. Okay, so this is the mechanism. LH receptor is in the beginning of the follicular phase, is displayed on theca interna. FSH receptor on follicular cells. LH receptor binding to LH will lead to the formation of androstenedione and testosterone. Follicular stimulating hormone binding to follicular stimulating hormone receptor on follicular cells will lead to formation of aromatase. Now, androstenedione being lipid soluble will cross all this, get into the Follicular cells, by crossing its cell membrane, since it is lipid soluble, will meet aromatase, will become 17 beta estradiol or estrogen. Estrogen will go to the body, cause induction of secondary sexual characteristics, and in the same cell, autocrine paracrine mechanism and nearby cells will induce formation of LH receptor on follicular cells. Now, LH binding to LH receptor will lead to closure or shutting down of the gap junctions between the follicular cells and the primary oocyte. Now, CGMP cannot go, CAMP cannot go. Whatever CGMP, if CGMP cannot go, it cannot inhibit phosphodiesterase. It will convert CAMP into AMP in the primary oocyte. Now, CAMP was inhibiting MPF. No CAMP means no MPF inhibition. Meiosis will proceed. No diprotein arrest. Okay. So, understood till now this pathway. How is diprotein arrest overcome in follicular phase? Any doubt? Anyone? Prakriti, Anurag, any doubt? Anyone, any doubt?
No, sir.
Anshika, any doubt?
No, sir.
Okay, so learn till now today. Okay, this is a big concept. Revise this concept. Okay, then we'll proceed to the feedback loop of follicular phase. Then tomorrow we'll also discuss ovulatory and luteal phase. Okay, अनुराग कोई doubt है?
No, sir.
Yeah. Okay then. Prakriti, any doubt? Prakriti, any doubt? If you have any questions?
No, sir.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.